Lord, the one,
the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls, who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. Praise be to thee, most supreme God, omnipotent, omnipresent, all-pervading, the only being. Take us in thy parental arms, raise us from the denseness of the earth. Thy beauty do we worship, to thee do we give willing surrender. Most merciful and compassionate God, the idealized Lord of the whole of humanity, thee only do we worship, and towards thee alone do we aspire. Open our hearts towards thy beauty, illuminate our souls with divine light. O thou, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, all-powerful Creator, Sustainer, Judge, and Forgiver of our shortcomings, Lord God of the East and of the West, the worlds above and below, and of the seen and unseen beings, pour upon us thy love and thy light. Give sustenance to our bodies, hearts, and souls. Use us for the purpose that thy wisdom chooseth, and guide us on the path of thine own goodness. Draw us closer to thee every moment of our life, until in us be reflected thy grace, thy glory, thy wisdom, thy joy, and thy peace. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. Inspirer of my mind, consoler of my heart, healer of my spirit, thy presence lifteth me from earth to heaven. Thy words flow as the sacred river. Thy thought riseth as the divine spring. Thy tender feelings awaken sympathy in my heart. Beloved teacher, thy very being is forgiveness. The clouds of doubt and fear are scattered by thy piercing glance. All ignorance vanishes in thy illuminating presence. A new hope is born in my heart by breathing thy peaceful atmosphere. O inspiring guide through life's puzzling ways, in thee I feel abundance of blessing. O thou, who art the maker, molder, and builder of the universe, build with thine own hands the universal, our temple for thy divine message of love, harmony, and beauty. I'm sorry? Purification breath?
Sure. So let's begin with the breath of earth in and out through the nose. Connecting with earth energy, solid and stable. A source of strength. And allowing impurities to drain away out of your being into the earth with each exhalation. transitioning to the breath associated with the element of water in through the nose and out through the mouth. And just tuning into and contemplating the cleansing, clearing, and soothing aspect of water energy. Transitioning now to awareness of the element of fire in through your mouth and out through your nose. And on the inhalation, drawing energy into your core and allowing the inner fire to be amplified, and then the heat to rise to the level of the heart, and we can allow it to radiate outward from the heart, in through the mouth and out through the nose. And then we'll shift to the breath of the element of air in and out through the mouth. And one way to experience this is to imagine that you hold grain in your hand, and having rubbed the grain together, the chaff is separated, and so the gentle breeze of your breath blows away the chaff and leaves the grain. Breath of ether, beginning on the exhalation, in and out delicately through mouth and nose. And on that first exhalation, reaching toward the far edges of the ever-expanding universe, and then drawing that clarity of energy back into yourself. And then relaxing your breath and relaxing your focus. And you're ready to open your eyes.
we're going to once again go through the planes, but in a somewhat different way. And just, so I want you just to imagine, if you will, being this, just you have to take a quantum leap, this pristine soul, newly formed, radiant, beautiful, absolutely pure. And it, you've been created, of course, by God, and you are moving. So you're moving through all these remarkable planes. Like you're moving right through from the very height of purity and excellence, and right down to planes where there are angelic spheres, the spheres of purity, and you spend time in these planes, and you go down further, and you enter into angelic plane of fire, absolute fire, and you burn with the sense of truth. It's embedded in you, and this you always carry with you. It's part of you. And you're coming down even further into just the plane of imagination and archetypes and splendor, absolute splendor. And this is part of you also. It's in your being. And in each plane, there's a counterpart of you in each plane. So that when you're descending through these planes, something of you remains in the one above. Some kind of counterpart, even though you are, of course, whole. And as you go down through the planes even further through the planes of fire and light, absolutely radiant light, so very vast, and down again through the plane of beauty, just shattering beauty, just so incredible. And down through again the plane of the jinns, of all the geniuses. And you can have so much fun here. It's just a remarkable state of being. And then you pledge, you know you're going to enter into the last plane, which is existence, and you make a pledge to serve the hierarchy of the government in the world. Alright? So you've made your pledge, and you are entering then into the realm of existence in this body. And this body, of course, changes constantly. And our job, in a sense, is to remember everything that is in us. Remember our pledge, and to help God experience what this life is like here on this plane, to see through your eyes, to be the divine glance, even though it's very difficult on this plane. So even in this body, we carry with us all the other planes. Planes of the jinn, the genius, of the angels, all the various angels of beauty and fire and light and radiance and truth and magnificence and majesty, all of it is within you. It doesn't go any place. It may be dormant. You may not remember it all. You may not remember any of it. But it's still within your being, still within you, and you can tap into this at any time whatsoever. It's a part of your being, part of your totality. So just breathe in and out the heart at this point, and just taking these thoughts. So you thought you were this limited being, but deep in your heart and your soul, there's much, much more. Musawwir?
Okay. What Majida just outlined in her short meditation is pretty much what we're going to work on today. From a lesson by Pir Vilayat called Planes of Existence and Wazifa. And what he's doing in this lesson is walking you through the planes of reality and associating them with the various wazaif, so you can get some kind of idea about how these planes interact. Okay, from Pir Vilayat. You can notice in yourself those elements that you have inherited from the different planes, and you know how to refuel those particular qualities by reestablishing contact with those planes. And what he means by that is the various practices that you learn to do in whatever capacity you have. Each time you do one of the practices, you're activating an awareness at a very subtle level of that particular plane. Okay, it's not good enough just to have mental representation of the plane. One has to find a counterpart of the plane in one's being, and one has to have a sense of the emotion of the plane. Those are two things that we have to observe. And having started with perhaps a figurative representation of the plane, one must let oneself be carried into the ecstasy of each plane. That sounds good, doesn't it? You think you do that? Huh? It's kind of a puzzle, isn't it? For each plane, there's a type of angel. For the first plane, that would be this one, it is beings who are very active and form the spirals of the galaxies. The second plane is the plane of the jinns and also of nature spirits. And then the third plane, of course, there are the angels, beautiful angels. The fourth plane, okay, the first plane is Nasut, right? Second plane is Mithal.
No.
Yes. Second plane is Mithal.
Okay.
Okay. The third plane is Jabarut. Just so he didn't have those names here, but I'm giving them to you at the same time. The fourth plane is Hahut, is the plane of the seraphim and beings of fire. Now, what do you suppose represents beings of fire in our galaxy? Stars.
Oh.
Yeah. Those are the embodiment of the fourth plane beings, but on the first plane level. Okay? Fifth plane, cherubim, beings of light. Sixth plane is the archangels like Gabriel and Michael, Raphael and Ophiel and so on. That's Lahut. And then the seventh plane is called Hayath, the four cardinal principles of the universe. That's Had Wahad, Wahadiyat. I would like to make a point of capturing something of the being of each one of these archangels and relate it to your own being. Like finding out what heritage you carry in you from these archangels. That's what we're going to work on, partially. The important thing is to discover in the trail of your character those things that pertain to each of these planes. And the clue is a sense of familiarity, like this plane is familiar to me. I remember this. This memory is in the unconscious, so just imagining it is not good enough. One has to recall one's experience in that plane. And I like to say that we have ancestors in each one of these planes. So there's a memory of having lived in that plane, or having even been born several times. So if you can recall the moment of your birth in each one of these planes, that's part of the rebirthing process. Okay? Isn't this fun? You know, and this is not an intellectual exercise, although it can seem like that. You know, it's an exercise of discovering the actual emotion within your being. So as I'm walking through this, as I'm talking, reading this material and making my own commentary, if there's anything in your being that is responsive, notice it. So I think, oh yeah, just notice it. You don't have to do anything about it, just notice. And that develops the habit of self-discovery by continually noticing these responses. Now, what happens with us is that we have so much inheritance that we find it difficult to manifest all of it, and so much of it remains recessive, that is, not fulfilled, not expressed. And surely everyone's felt that, like there's something I'm supposed to do and I don't know what it is, right? You felt that? Everyone's felt that, sure. In fact, that's one of the main conversations that I have with Murids. What am I supposed to do? I don't know. I can feel something and I don't know what it is. And I'm like, well, it's your problem. Okay, and that is within our power. That is what these practices are, to express those features that we are able to sense, to grasp, and this only happens if we are attuned to the emotion of that particular plane. Now, here's when we get to the meat of the material. For each plane, there's a wazif. We should concentrate not on the meaning of the wazifa so much as the attunement of each wazifa. And so, of course, at the top is Ahad, seventh plane. Sixth plane Qudus, fifth plane Azim, fourth plane Haq, third plane Ishq, second plane Alim, and first plane Hay. I'm going to go over that again. Okay.
Which number lesson is this?
Seventh plane is Ahad. Sixth plane Qudus. Fifth plane, Azim, which is like, you're just really wonderful, glorious, amazing. Fourth plane is Haq, right? Truth. Third plane is Ishq. That's the angelic plane. And Ishq is defined as nostalgia. It's often translated as love, but it's really that nostalgia that you have for the truth of your being. Second plane, Alim, which is, acquired intelligence. And then the first plane is Hay, which is truth.
Life.
Life. Sorry. Life. Haq is truth. Now, you may, of course, wish to add wazifas to some of these that I've suggested. One could add Jamil, for instance, to the third plane. You know what that is?
Splendor.
Beauty. Okay? And one could add Ya Fatah to the fourth. Right? The opener. And Jalal seems to me like the fourth, whereas Ikram is in the fifth. Wajid means existence, but as all these wazifas apply to the adjective of the divine being, Wajid is the existent one. Or Wajid is the proper pronunciation. Now, let's see where we're at here. So the first plane, he says, is Hai, which is life. So you can, for instance, use that emotion of the first plane existence, all of this stuff, and imagine, for instance, that you're in a state of mental turmoil or confusion or despair or some feeling of inadequacy that we all get through from time to time. You know, we get these feelings of, oh my goodness, what do I do now? You know, I need to get tires and I only have enough money for one, and those kinds of things. So what you can do is Yahai, Yahai, Yahai. Just do that, just like I'm doing it, with feeling and emotion and an experience. This is life. Yahai, 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 Yahai. See how it feels? Instantly charges you, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, sense of I am here, now, in this moment. Okay? And this just, it's a basic technique that you can use any time.
Not at a bus stop.
Huh?
Not at a bus stop.
Well, it depends on whether there's anybody there to stare at you and point.
There's some other guy having a conversation with himself.
Yeah, right. We'll just ignore him. Okay. Now, for second plane, which is creative imagination, plane of the jinns and nature spirits, it's the plane where your creativity is what's the word I want? Coalesced. Because creativity has to be activated in the first plane, in Nasut, right? But you get your ideas in Mithal, in the second plane. And for that, you can use a practice that is very effective called Ya'alim, right? Creative intelligence, and Wali, which is mastery, in order to activate your creativity. So you can just go Ya'alim, Ya'wali, 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 focus on the third eye and exhale Alim. Inhale Wali in through the solar plexus. And notice the flow of energy between these two chakras. And see how that's a little more subtle than the Nasut, the energy of Nasut, right? A little more expansive, perhaps. And then the third plane, plane of the angels, is he puts down Ishq. So what's the practice you would do? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and it gets even more subtle because people always get kind of dreamy when they do Ishqallah, Ma'budallah. It seems to me that's an emotion that's very common with that practice. So as you're doing the practice, think or imagine the emotion of angelic beings whose whole existence is devoted to splendor and beauty. Ishqallah, Mahmud Allah. Ishqallah, Mahmud Allah. Ishqallah, Mahmud Allah. Ishqallah. Ma'bud Allah. Ish Allah. Ma'bud Allah. Ish Allah. Ma'bud Allah. Ish Allah. Ma'bud Allah. Ish Allah. Ma'bud Ishqallah, Ma'bud Allah. Ishqallah, Ma'bud Allah. Ishqallah, Ma'bud Allah. Ma'bud Allah. Ishqallah, Allah. Ishqallah, Ma'bud 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 Allah. Allah. Ishqallah, Ma'bud 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 Allah. Ish, Kalam, Ma'bud, Allah. Okay. See how it's getting more subtle? Now the fourth plane is, according to him, is Haq, which is the truth. Now, there's a couple of ways to do Haq. You know, there's the one that is most common, which is, yeah, Haq, like that, right? Just penetrating through all illusions and assumptions and opinions. Or you can do it in a very subtle way, allowing it to penetrate into you without being intrusive so much as it is embracing. You know, because the truth can seem to be dangerous, perhaps. And what we want to allow it to be is our friend. Okay? Does that make sense? Somebody nod.
Still thinking.
Okay? So, very subtly, right into the core of your being. In fact, you might even focus this on your solar plexus, the void within. Okay? If that feels okay. That's not an instruction, that's a suggestion. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Sounds like what turkeys do.
Is that what it reminds you of?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sure the beings of fire will appreciate your knowledge. Okay. Now where are we at here? Fifth plane, Azim. Now Azim is a declaration of excellence, of magnificence, of exquisite expression of divine intent. It's just one of those wazaif that's mostly about discovery and a sense of the glory of creation. Pir Valaya would often use the example of dervishes greeting one another with Azim, Azim, Azim. Now, Azim is often done in the third eye with a very, as high pitched as you can get without straining, because you're reaching for a very high state of existence. It's like this: Yazim, 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 Yazim. Can you see how that becomes even more refined, even more delicate, and the vibrations become quieter but more expansive? This is the realm of the archangels. And then we get to the sixth plane, Qudus. Oh, is that the seraphim and the cherubim?
I may have written it down wrong.
Yeah. No, you're right. Beings of light. Sixth plane is archangels.
Sixth plane is archangels,
Mm-hmm.
and fifth is beings of light.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Are there 7 altogether?
Yes, there are.
Okay, then I'm confused.
Sixth plane is Lahut, which is the plane of Qudus. Now, it's also the archangels, but it's also described as the plane of ice and snow, crystal palaces. Often when you are in this plane and you're aware of it, that's exactly what you'll see or what you'll experience is this crystalline expression. Very pure, very white. That's the way the mind translates it. So if that's an
Ice and
experience that
snow.
you've had, the ice and snow, right?
Yeah.
If that's an experience that you had, that's what it was. Sixth plane. Often you'll when you're like doing a long retreat, you'll be in these planes and you won't realize it. It just feels normal at the moment, which is exactly what you want. You want it to feel normal. Okay? Now, Qudus is one of those practices that you can do a lot with. You can get some overtones going with Qudus. It's Nur is another one that you can get overtones going. In fact, they're very close. They're akin to one another. Nur Qudus is a sixth plane practice. Okay? So, the other thing is that when you're saying Qudus is it starts in the back of the throat. In fact, it's actually in the body, it's often identified with the throat chakra. And you can do it like this. Qudus. Yeah. Qudus. 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 See how that resonates at a very, very, very high level? Qudus. 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 Or you can do a practice like Ya Nur, Ya Qudus, Ya Nur,
Ya
Nur, Ya Qudus, Ya Nur, Ya Qudus, Ya Nur, Ya Qudus. Now, those are two very different ways of doing the practice, but you might notice that they're very similar in the emotion that they evoke, which is what we're looking for here, right? And then the seventh plane, which is the plane of absolute existence, what can you say about that? When you touch this plane, you disappear. The who you are and all of the identifiers that you have just disappear. They no longer have meaning. However, you always come back. Always. In fact, I've been reading Plotinus, and he talks about that. You know, a 2nd century Roman philosopher talks about that very thing of getting into this deep state of, he didn't call it, seventh plane reality. He called it lightness or something. But that's, it was the same thing. State of unity. And you always come back. Because you have things to do here on this plane. And now, can you think of what practice is really appropriate to 7th plane? Oh,
Ishkala?
No, we did that already.
I mean, like, no, he did that.
Huh?
La.
Yeah, zikr.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zikr encompasses all the planes. Because you can focus it in any emotion, any concentration you can give it. But at the highest, it's the most responsive to 7th plane reality. Nothing exists except God. Okay? Now, where are we at here? Now, back to Pir Vilayat. Is everybody up, up with me on this?
Plotinus was the 3rd century?
What's now?
Plotinus was the 3rd century?
2nd century.
2nd century.
Plotinus.
Plotinus.
Plotinus. Pir Vilayat used to, quote him all the time. So I thought I should start reading about Plotinus. And, here it is. Now, there are other attributes that you could ascribe to the different spheres. For the 3rd, Ishkala Mabudallah. For the 4th, Qayyum. Right? For the 2nd, Ya Musawwir, which is the molder. That is where the planes and blueprints of the architects of the universe are being made. Remember what I told you? That's where the plane of where creativity is coalesced. I was right, it turns out.
That was the 2nd one.
Huh?
Yeah.
Second plane, yeah.
2nd plane.
Yeah, mythal. I don't think there's any point in making a system in one's mind.
What did we just do?
I know, isn't that funny?
Well,
Okay.
plus I was thinking that in some ways you could draw a correlation with the chakra system.
You could, but that's not what he wants to do. And he gets into it right here in this paragraph.
Okay.
One falls far below the attunement that is required of us. Just experience what you can by drawing that experience from the memory of the unconscious of the past, the memory of the past which has been consigned to the unconscious. Actually, one is still living in all these planes now. That's a really critical point. It's just like one passed through them, one is still submerged in each one. But, as Murshid says, there is a veil that separates the planes, and that veil is our ignorance. And so, if we lift that veil, we will realize that aspect of our being that is functioning on the fifth plane, and that is continually influencing our being on the first plane. So that finally we come to the view that we live on all planes simultaneously. How's that feel?
Boy.
What lesson number is this?
Feels like we're doing a lot.
41. What?
Feels like we're doing a lot. I mean,
That's right. And so what's that tell you? You're wondering why I asked that question. What's the right answer? What's it tell you?
that much more is going on than I think there is.
Yeah. The human mind wants to simplify. It just naturally does. It does two things. One, it wants to simplify so it understands. And two, it just loves complexity. Yeah.
That's a paradox.
Yeah, it's a
Is
great
it-
paradox.
Yeah, it's sort of like, let's not make a structure out of this, or what was that you said before? Said, let's not make a system out of
It does systematize it, yeah.
Or,
Yeah. That's the great danger in any of these experiences is systematizing or quantifying the experience. Saying this is the proper way. This is the element that you must always engage with. This is the technique that you must always use. And that's a big mistake
yeah.
because it's not how it works. Okay.
But systematizing it would that necessarily infer that you're saying this is how it's done?
Yeah.
Or systematizing it is identifying what it is.
You can identify what it is. This is all just words.
Right. Well.
When we were doing the practices, when you're doing a practice like we just did several times, are you paying attention to the word that you're saying, or do you get to a state where you're just saying the word, but you're feeling an emotion of some sort, or struggling to?
Yeah.
Right?
To go, to have an experience.
Of whatever it is that you're doing, right?
Yeah.
You have an idea of what the word means, even though it's in a foreign language.
Yeah.
Right?
I was wondering yesterday, actually, when the wazifas came into being. Was it with Muhammad?
No, long before that.
Much before that.
Yeah, because just the word Allah was around for many centuries before.
Way before Buddha. Yeah.
Oh, we don't know.
We don't know how long that was. We just know that it was there as an identifier of the one being, the over God that they kind of ignored.
It's just called all is the God.
Yeah, the God or the breath. But the people's, in Aramaic, it was just not really. They didn't pay too much attention to it because that being is very abstract, far away, not really paying attention. I want to pray to this guy who's in charge of the harvest, or in charge of my hunting process, or finding a wife, or whatever it is that you want to be doing. You want someone a little closer to your own reality, right? And then Muhammad changed all that. Okay. So all of these words were around, sure, as identifiers.
It seems to me that we need to move in and out of system systematizing in order to understand it and then dissolve that. And
If that's
come
what
back
we're,
to
if that's
it.
what's important to you, go ahead.
Well, that's actually what we're doing
Yeah.
right here.
Giving you an idea of
So
what
not-
the system is.
And
What,
not becoming attached to that structure.
no, yeah. In other words, the most important thing that you can get from these lessons is that there is a gradual refining of energy as one gets closer and closer to the source. And we divide it up into these planes, but the planes all interact. There's no boundaries. There's no come to a gate and then, okay, well, can I
Right.
get into the sixth plane now? So-
Right.
and there's a guard there with a spear. And so, All right? Okay. A great clue is if instead of thinking that you are like a vehicle in which all of this inheritance has come, if you think of yourself as being that inheritance. That makes all the difference. In other words, I am my father who continues to live. I am my grandfather. I am my mother who continues to live. I am my grandmother who continues to live. I am my ancestors who continue to live, and so on. I am all those animals who were my ancestors who continue to live. I am the plants that continue to live. I am the whole past. I am the minerals. I am my whole past. I am the past of the universe. I am the present of all the planes, and the divine inheritance which I am supersedes any other inheritance. The inheritances through ancestors and angelic ancestors have accrued in me in the course of time. That's a lot to say in that one little paragraph, isn't it?
Yeah. It's and everyone is that.
Yes. There's a catch, though. We'll get to that. We are able to earmark these idiosyncrasies in our being that we are to our heritage in the different celestial spheres. That would be moving upwards along the heavenly spheres from low plane to the highest. You are absolutely free to become what you want to be, irrespective of whatever the idiosyncrasies are that you have inherited, whether from your parents or from the angelic planes, and even differently from one's divine inheritance. Now, what does that imply?
Choice.
Yeah, and the most basic fundamental need of creation is free will. Right? So you have the right to become even more than your inheritance specifies. But of course, one is using the material that one has inherited, exactly like a modern artist uses the same paints that ancient artists used to use, but what he makes of it is different.
Say that again, please.
One is using the material that one has inherited, exactly like a modern artist uses the same paints that ancient artists used to use, but what he makes of it is different. Right? You understand that. You know, you're not doing two-dimensional. You use perspective, which hasn't been around for all that long, and modern art, Rauschenberg, right? What would Michelangelo make of Rauschenberg, you suppose?
I think it would be not that pleasing.
Not that pleasing?
Yeah,
Why do you think that?
because the refinement of his expression.
Michelangelo?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and the grossness of Rauschenberg.
Yeah, the Rauschenberg was perfectly capable of doing, he could do, I've seen.
Great renderings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not like.
Not like, no. What's the difference? Is there an evolution?
It's an attunement.
Yeah.
No.
Is there an evolution?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pure Vlad's making.
Yeah.
We move. So every time someone says we haven't learned anything, history repeats itself, keeps coming back around, they're actually just feeling sorry for themselves. Because history moves in a spiral. It looks like it's coming back around to the same place, but it's not quite. It moves in a spiral.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what are we doing? Let yourself explore how you feel about these different planes. What we want to do also is to draw the energy or the attunement of one plane and place it in another. And we start perhaps with the most typical example of that, which is Yazim, Ya-Alim. The reason for this association of Azim and Alim is that it is only when one is in love that one can see things clearly. It is only when one is in a state of ecstasy that one can perceive that which is hidden behind the appearance of things. That is the reason why I don't think it is very useful just to work with Alim, except in relationship to Azim. Azim is very closely associated with the vision of Dhul Jalal Wal Ikram. If we want to really contact these planes, we have to realize that these planes are a reality in beings. And although all beings have all planes in them, just as we have, still, qualities of a certain plane come out extremely intensely in certain beings, who are really like the epitome of that particular attunement. Now, Yazim means how glorious. That is why it is the word that dervishes are saying. Oh, here he goes. Dervishes are saying to each other when they see the splendor coming through one another. The splendor is the result of meditating, contemplating for hours daily the being of God. The consequence is that oneself becomes glorious and magnificent by losing oneself, ascribing oneself so totally in the magnificence of God. Absorbing oneself so totally in the magnificence of God. Now, that all sounds quite, wonderful, doesn't it? Do you do that? Huh?
Not every day, all the time, but every day at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you are an exemplar of the magnificence of God. How's that feel?
Great.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, right.
It's always hard to accept.
It's very hard to accept that you are an exemplar of the magnificence of God because of the work that you do, because of the efforts that you make, because of the, and the key here always is with a sense of honesty. All right? With a sense of I am doing this, not in any kind of obligatory, or look how cool I am kind of thing.
Oh, right.
Prideful. You're just doing it. Did you have something to add?
No.
Oh. Okay, it's just because this is what you do. That's kind of critical, actually. Because I've seen so many people get very involved in their own magnificence, And, that kind of gets in the way. Okay. All right. Let's see. Where are we at here? He's talking about Azim. And here he says, this is the knowledge that God had without using the consciousness of people, or rather his or her consciousness fragmented into it. Now, this is a very important paragraph. I remember this. Fragmented into a number of focal points. It was this original form of understanding the divine intelligence. The divine glance is functioning through our focal center, but does not allow itself to limit itself by our focal center, that is our personal consciousness, which is what I was just saying, right? So there are two modes of understanding that we ascribe as Hu and Ana. Hu is the presence, Ana is me.
Ana.
Individuality. La Ana Ella Anta. Know me, only thou. You ever heard that? I gave it to you on your retreat. So soon they forget.
Yeah, it's you'll remember soon.
Yeah. La Ana Illa Anta. Know me, only thou. Yeah, very powerful practice. Okay? The first mode of understanding is where there is no duality. It is not based on anything that we can contribute to the divine understanding by being the eyes through which he or she sees. And the other one is where we do contribute, and by this fragmentation of the divine consciousness, something is gained. That's the major paradox, which Sufism is continually wrapped within. But on the one hand, we don't contribute a thing. Existence is. Unity is. All right? And on the other hand, our very experience, in fact, does contribute to the divine experience. Okay? The major paradox. That's to discover the interaction between these two states is a very high realization.
The state of
unity as opposed, ahad or wahid. Unity in multiplicity, multiplicity in unity. Okay, that's a seventh plane paradox.
It's also the paradox of this plane.
It's the paradox of this plane too, yeah, exactly. So it runs through all of reality. Okay? How are we doing here?
It occurs to me that
Louder for the recording.
it occurs to me that no matter what of which of the planes one is working in, it affects all the others, radiates up and down.
Yeah.
Which goes back to a question that you posed earlier. What does it mean that you live on all planes?
Yeah.
So you're not aware of it, but you're affecting the other planes.
Yeah. Not only are you affecting the other planes, you're affecting all your bodies. You know? If you accept, if we want to go into the reincarnation thing, which he alludes to a little bit here, every time that you have a realization, you are expressing that realization through time as well, through the time-space continuum. But, like I said, the mind loves complexity. Doesn't it? Okay, where are we at here? We are then more than the individual subject who sees. We are the divine being who sees. And our particular vantage point is infused with the divine vantage point. It is transfused by it. And so when you are saying Yalim, what you are saying is that God is the aware one, is the one who is aware, the knower. He or she is the knower. And what Alim means is that God does not allow his or her understanding to be limited by the understanding that God gains through us. Those parts of God that are being focalized or fragmented, and somehow God transfuses this knowledge with God's transcended knowledge. There's the interface, okay, between unity and multiplicity. And every time that we start perceiving that which transpires behind that which appears, we are participating in the divine action whereby God transfuses the knowledge of beings by God's transcended knowledge. Okay? Everybody all caught up on that?
The transcended knowledge is the all-knowing intelligence, the divine intelligence.
Yeah, Achel. Achel. A-Q-L. A apostrophe Q-L.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
The divine intelligence.
That is that requires no the divine intelligence that requires no input. Whereas Alim is the input.
The acquired knowledge.
Yeah.
Acquired knowledge. Is that knowledge through? Is that a distinction of like book knowledge, or
could be?
Is that also knowledge of let's say intuition, or
could be?
Yeah.
All knowledge, however it's acquired.
I see.
Right. So let's do this, Azim, Yazim, Yalim, and just see what you experience. You know, and you know, without any kind of preconception of what it should be. And we'll do 101, and that way it gives you plenty of time to just feel it out and see what you feel. And if you don't feel anything, you don't feel anything. It's okay. Doesn't matter. The idea is just to allow the emotion of the attribute to flow through you.
That's the key word, to allow.
Allow, right? Yeah.
Because sometimes people are, doing practices and they say, "Oh, I don't feel anything," and because they have some preconceived idea of what they're supposed to feel, and it's not happening. So it's allow whatever happens to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now we'll do it gently, but do kind of keep the ah sound in the third eye. You'll feel it there.
It would be the ah sound would be in the heart. The e sound.
Oh, I'm sorry. The e sound.
sound
The e sound. Yes. Z. We kind of You're right. It kind of flows from the heart to the third eye, like in a circular motion. Yazim, Yalim, 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 Yazim, Yazim, Yalim, 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 Yazim, Yalim. Inhale Azim, exhale Alim. Okay, and then just contemplate the emotion that you've been evoking, whatever it is. Okay. I mean, how's that feel now?
More spacious, but I don't feel know that I feel splendor, and I thought maybe we could talk a little bit more about splendor, or do some things that may create that atmosphere.
You don't feel splendiferous? Darn.
If you, I'm sure that you have experienced this many, many, many times. You can experience it looking at a magnificent sunrise or sunset.
Mm-hmm.
So you even over an ocean. It's like is that it brings about that feeling of splendor, real splendor. But the thought of just a mountainous region like the Alps, and like being on top of a mountain, you can see vast stretches of land. Okay.
I'm going to start this one.
Okay. So we'll wait for you to come back. So anything like that. If you listen to a piece of magnificent music, like symphonic music, or Bach, it's like, this is splendor.
Yeah.
This is pure splendor.
Hildegard von Bingen.
What the?
Hildegard von Bingen. This
Beautiful.
week I went to the Cathedral of Saints Peter and Paul and heard European
Beautiful music.
group that does her music.
It's like,
It's angelic.
yeah, and it's just, evokes in you that emotion of splendor.
Yeah.
It's like that, you can imagine it's like the being of the angelic being of Dul Jalal of Al Ikram. It's like that's why everyone loves the pageantry and the king and the queen and the carriages and all of that. It evokes just splendor in you, so you can appreciate it, even though it's like, well, the king or the queen doesn't rule. It's the prime minister, a parliament, or a president, or whatever. But we all love that pageantry, that glory, that majesty. It's like it evokes something in you of a memory of that plane. Oh, that's in you. Because if it wasn't in you, you couldn't see it, you couldn't recognize it. So just use your imagination. People often use the what is it called? What do you call it? Landscapes of the soul. So if you could imagine flying above the clouds, and there may be, you could look down and see this old flock of geese going, and how the light reflects on the clouds, and but you're doing the flying, you're soaring at that level, and what the light looks like, and what the whole thing. It just so you would just have to use your imagination to experience it, or simply listen to some absolutely beautiful, profound music.
Yeah.
That music that touches off that thing in your soul, you know. As a Pure Light, often use music for all the different flames,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yes.
yeah, because we respond so readily to sound, to beauty, and to beautiful, magnificent music. And not just beautiful music, but music that stirs your soul in a profound way. Okay, so you continue, Henry.
Okay.
You continue the lesson.
All right. I'm just thinking that, we were at the Met on Friday with Isabella, our granddaughter. And it's such a delight to spend time with an 11-year-old girl who loves museums and bookstores.
Yeah.
But, you're in the Met and you're looking at this art and you're looking at the desire of humanity to adorn, to decorate, to display, to describe, to in some way give voice to that, that deep, powerful emotion, the need to create. You look at stuff that's from 2000 BC, and still people were they were adorning, right? They were making things that were beautiful. So beauty and splendor are part of the human soul, and we're continually. So that's an expression of six-plane reality, right there in the Met. And every time you adorn something and you want to make it pretty, you're expressing that aspect of divine intent, divine awareness.
I'm sure you probably have also experienced that as you're a magnificent drawer, artist, and as you're creating something, it also stirs something in you of something grand, It's like, so you have plenty of references.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess the idea is to when you read about these, it's like when you read some of this metaphysical material, you go, oh man,
I'm
no
not
way.
there. Yeah, no way.
Right? It's like when you read the levels of initiation, and I think I've mentioned this before, when I read about my level of initiation, I'm like, that's not me.
No way.
No way do I meet any of those requirements. But part of my being does. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or maybe, some part, I don't know. Because we have to interact with all of it. Yeah. We interact with these very refined states, and, we mow the lawn.
Mm-hmm.
Or, vacuum, or wash the dishes, cook dinner.
Chop wood, carry water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, moving along.
Before enlightenment, after enlightenment.
Right. You still got to do it. So the divine glance then cuts through the perspective of the faction that is the human, the personal, with another perspective, and the consequence is that one sees the cause and the purpose behind every situation instead of just seeing the situation. And that is the precise meaning of Alim.
Would you read that again, please?
The divine glance cuts through the perspective of the faction that is the human, the personal, with another perspective, and the consequence is that one sees the cause and the purpose behind every situation instead of just seeing the situation. And that is the precise meaning of Alim. Okay? Now, there is actually a practice that you can do to enhance that experience.
That perception.
Yes. And it's called Chagall of love. You know what Chagall is, right? Where you go like this. Breathe in and out the right nose. Are you familiar with this practice? Okay.
So put your hands down and he's going to describe it.
So you put your thumbs in your ear flaps, your index finger on the suborbital ridge over there. You don't press on the eyeball, just on the suborbital ridge. Your middle fingers control the nostrils and your last two fingers on the mouth, thus closing off all the orifices in your head, all the sense organs. Now, ordinarily, you hold your fingers here, you inhale in through the right nostril, hold your breath, turn your eyeballs upward, tongue up to the soft palate, and then you exhale out the right nostril. That's a normal Chagall practice, right? This practice is a little different. If you want it, I can write it out for you later. But I'm just going to describe it now, or you can write it during lunch or something. Tajli, I want you to do this. Not right. So you get the Chagall position, ready, but keep your eyes open, and as you inhale,
Wait a minute. Tajli,
keep your eyes open.
This finger has to be at the suborbital ridge, down here. Yeah.
But keep your eyes open, and as you inhale through the right nostril, imagine that you are drawing the light of the environment in through your eyes into the being. And then, when you're holding, close your eyes. Eyes up, eyeballs up, tongue to the soft palate. And as you exhale, keep your eyes closed and radiate from your body. Radiate light. Then keep your eyes closed. Inhale. Hold. And then as you exhale, open your eyes, radiate the divine glance into infinity. And then drop your hands. Inhale, closing your eyes. Hold. And then as you exhale, radiate out the heart, the third eye, and the crown, keeping your eyes closed. Okay, the Chagall of love. Now, you want to write this out? Here we go. First position. Eyes open. Drawing in the light of the environment. Okay, and then hold, eyes closed. And then as you exhale, eyes closed, radiate light from your whole body. Radiate divine light. Okay, second time. You keep the eyes closed, inhale light. Hold. And as you exhale, you open your eyes and radiate the divine glance, which is looking into infinity. And then the third time, hands away, no hands. Eyes open, drawing the light of the environment in.
But you're still concentrating on the right nostril.
Yeah. And you hold. Eyes closed. And as you exhale, radiate out the heart, the third eye, and the crown, keeping your eyes closed. And that's a way to enhance the divine glance. However, I want to caution you and those of you listening to this recording, do it once a day, that's it. You don't want to do this practice more than once a day, otherwise you get too spacey.
The last exhale is
Eyes closed. Radiate from the heart, the third eye, and the crown.
radiate what?
Light. Okay, we can take a break now for lunch.
Oh, okay. Wonderful.
It's 11:45. Okay. And return when we return.
11:45 now? Okay.
Well, let's do noon prayers. Most gracious Lord,
Master,
Messiah, and Savior of humanity, we greet thee with all humility. Thou art the first cause and the last effect, the divine light and the spirit of guidance, Alpha and Omega. Thy light is in all forms, thy love in all beings, in a loving mother, in a kind father, in an innocent child, in a helpful friend, in an inspiring teacher. Allow us to recognize thee in all thy holy names and forms, as Rama, as Krishna, as Shiva, as Buddha. Let us know thee as Abraham, as Solomon, as Zarathustra, as Moses, as Jesus, as Mohammed, and in many other names and forms, known and unknown to the world. We adore thy past. Thy presence deeply enlightens our being, and we look for thy blessing in the future. O Messenger, Christ, Nabi, the Rasul of God, thou whose heart constantly reaches upward, thou comest on earth with a message, as a dove from above when Dharma decays, and speakest the word that is put into thy mouth, as the light filleth the crescent moon. May the star of the divine light shining in thy heart be reflected in the hearts of thy devotees. May the message of God reach far and wide, illuminating and making the whole of humanity as one single family in the parenthood of God. Pour upon us thy love and thy light. 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 A torch in the darkness, a staff during my weakness, a rock in the weariness of life. Thou, my Master, makest earth a paradise. Thy thought giveth me unearthly joy. Thy light illuminateth my life's path. Thy words inspire me with divine wisdom. I follow in thy footsteps, which lead me to the eternal goal. Comforter of the broken-hearted, support of those in need, friend of the lovers of truth, blessed Master, thou art the prophet of God. Amen.
Okay.
So what I want to start off the afternoon with is a practice that I really haven't introduced you to, but it's important to Sufism. Almost all of our practices are active in some way. You're doing something. You're reciting a mantra or a wazif. You're doing zikr. You're concentrating on some kind of breath practice. Concentrating on chakras. Whatever. You're doing something. What we're going to do now is do nothing. Just sit in silence and quiet the mind. And for a little while. You want to get to a place where your mind is still and isn't being pesty. So let's see how that works. And for purposes of this recording, I'm going to pause the recording now so the time interval will not be noticed. Okay. How long do you think that was?
5 minutes?
Closer to 20.
We definitely have curious minds.
No?
I can't see the clock because the cup's in front of it. I was looking at my cat the other day because the smells outside and she wanted to go outside. She hadn't been out all winter really. I said, I wonder how long her curiosity can stay up against the cold. But I found my mind after kind of a moment of peace, some silence, grabbing onto something and running with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh no, put that down.
Yeah.
Okay, let it go.
Exactly. And you and you learn discipline. Or your mind learns to accept discipline, which is important in this work. Leads us to the next step. In this lesson. What gives one the ability to let the divine perspective break through one's perspective, excuse me, is, are you ready? Ecstasy. One could also say this the other way around. It's a vicious circle because from the moment that one begins to perceive that which transpires behind that which appears, everything appears so beautiful that one is in ecstasy. Now, I know you experienced that. Do you ever experience that? Are you doing okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think I've experienced it?
I know you do. You just get caught up in looking at something and just look at it.
Oh yeah.
Could just be a shift of colors or
Oh yeah.
some shape that's appealing or
Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess I do that quite often.
yeah. And then being in ecstasy, one sees even more what transpires behind that which appears. This is how one starts in the fifth plane, emotion. And it gives one insight into the situations on the planet. And you see that as soon as one lets oneself slip into one's personal consciousness vantage point, one has lost one's ecstasy. Okay? When you get into it, when you are observing something, a play of colors, interesting shapes, whatever, and then you give personal value to it. You decided it's this, it's that. This is where it fits within the world. You're no longer in a state of ecstasy. You've made decisions based on your personal
so
vantage
you're
point.
not one with all.
That's right. And again, we come to that word allowing. To allow whatever it is to be what it is without giving value to it. Which is why we have all this art. Because you just look at the art. You know, people sometimes will come in here, I wonder what that means. They'll look at the art and they'll say, oh, I know. They're not seeing the art. They're seeing what they think they see. I want to draw your attention to the relationship between Qudus and Haqq. You get a very high state of high altitude, rarefied states with Qudus. But don't experience yourself as a body, experience yourself as a soul. The body is something that is added. That is how you get into the feeling of Qudus, because Qudus is like the catalyst that triggers off the forces of life. Oh, I think he meant high. Rather, the relationship between Qudus and high.
But he said Haqq.
Yeah, I know he said Haqq, but I'm right here. But high is right down on the first plane, energy. Right here, it's high, not Haqq. Someone transcribed it wrong.
Oh.
Relationship between Qudus and high.
Oh.
There is a practice, you know. It's a very common practice to give to people. It's Ya Qudus, Ya high. And then there's another practice, which I'll often give on retreat, but I don't generally give it individually, is where you go, Ya Qudus, or you don't even do the Ya, you just go Qudus, Ya high. Qudus, Ya high. Qudus, Ya high. Ya high. When you feel it. So that's another, you can see that you're intersecting all those planes of existence in one practice, or some of them. Okay.
Do you want us to do that practice now?
Yeah, I want to finish this
Okay.
paragraph. Murshid speaks about the human spirit, not just the spirit right up there. He speaks about the human spirit, that is, standing for what one believes at the cost of death. That's the human spirit. And of course, you see that what it does to a person is that it makes a person truthful. And that is the rapport. Oh, it is between Qudus and Haqq. You must have meant Haqq. Okay. That is the rapport between Qudus and Haqq. So, yeah, let's try to do that. Now here's the deal with this practice, is that as you're doing it, you decide when to say Haqq. You just, you just feel the moment. And at first you kind of have to force it a little bit, I suppose. At least that's my experience. Your experience may be different. But after a while, there's this natural kind of thing that this is the moment. I understand the moment. I feel the moment of doing Haqq. Okay? Is that clear?
And is it just Qudus and then Ya Haqq? Or is it?
Qudus, high, Haqq.
Oh, it is still Qudus,
Mhm.
high, and Haqq.
Haqq, not all the time.
Yeah, it's mostly Kudus high.
Just when you
and
feel
then
it. Just
occasionally
Kudus high,
whenever you
Kudus high,
feel it.
Kudus
Yeah.
high.
Okay.
Then,
Okay. That
Yeah.
clear? Should I do it again?
sure. Do it
So
again.
it's Ya Kudus Yahai. Ya Kudus Yahai. Ya Kudus Yahai. Ya Kudus Yahai. Ya! Like that. Just when you feel it.
God bless you.
Okay? Yeah, can we do this? Ya Qudus Yahai. 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 Ya Ya Qudus Yahai. 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 Ya. So breathe in Qudus, exhale Hai.
Bless you.
God bless you.
Okay.
That was a yuck.
Is that what that was?
Listening.
Okay, how'd that feel?
Very good.
That's it? That's all I get? It was very good?
I felt as though I could feel when someone else was going to do the hug.
Cool. Yeah. You tuned into what's going on then, aren't you?
I guess.
A lot. Huh?
Carried along.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's an outbreak of joy.
Is that what it felt like?
Now, yeah.
Oh, now it feels that way?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's surprising when almost surprising because you don't anticipate it. You're trying
Yourself or for other?
for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. It
Yeah.
just happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you're in a state of ecstasy.
Yeah. My first one it definitely was like wow. It was nice.
In Tai Chi, there's a practice called Fajing that is like that, but it's the sudden exertion of energy at the end of a move.
Oh yes, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
I've read about it. I don't know if I've ever done it. Maybe I have. I don't know. Okay. I would like to balance this state of peace with a state of arousal, exaltation, glorification.
As we just did.
Yeah, I thought, I'm very excited.
Both of them are needed in order to remember what one is eternally. It's not what one was, it is what one still is and will always be. I don't know whether all of you do feel like, on the one hand, you are the man or woman of the world who needs to answer responsibilities, and on the other hand, there is something in you which would like to be the priest or the priestess. Somehow, you could figure yourself participating in the great cosmic celebration. It might even be that for some of you it would make the ultimate sense. I remember once attending one incredible cosmic celebration. That's what I call it. It was a service where the representatives of different religions were invited, the gurus of the time, in the 60s. It was in a Catholic monastery and was an Orthodox service, and somehow I felt, well, this is it, the ultimate sense of the universe. One comes out of that transformed, full of zest for the marvel of life. This need in us is expressed in a sense of bewilderment before the marvel of life, despite all the flaws and disasters. Behind it all, there is a miracle which is overwhelming. Sometimes scientists are absolutely overwhelmed by the intelligence. They also call it the elegance behind the programming of the universe. At moments like that, celebration, you realize the tremendous privilege you have to be invested by all of this bounty at all levels of the universe. There comes a moment where one recognizes in oneself what Christ called our divine inheritance when he said, "Be ye perfect, even as your heavenly Father is perfect." What he was saying is that all of us do carry within ourselves the divine inheritance. We may not be aware of it. In fact, if we're not aware of it, we have a very bad self-image. The real breakthrough is the moment when you can actually earmark in your being the seed, your real self, and the plant, your personality. The qualities get limited in your personality, but if you are able to shift your notion of yourself, your sense of identity, from your personality to your real being, you will discover qualities that are so sublime. This is where you have to overcome that kind of false humility. Humility is important in order to protect us from megalomania. False humility denies who we really are. We have to reconcile the greatest pride in our divine inheritance together with the humility of what we have made of that inheritance, or even the limitations to this perfection which are written right into the nature of life. Instead of exulting in the marvel of the universe as one imagines it to be outside oneself or beyond oneself, you exult in the investiture of that glory, that splendor in the very seed of your being. Now you can say, "Oh God, thank you for having invested me with such splendor." Thus endeth lesson 41.
Oh, wait a minute. You went back?
That's it. I went back to what? I didn't go back.
No, let me see this.
Let's see.
Wait a minute. You did the page 5
Oh,
is in front, as I told you.
That's not part of the Sufi text, is it?
no.
This is.
Oh, wow.
Right, no, so that. Okay, this is.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
I thought this was it.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Let me see it. No,
Next lesson.
Okay, we're going ahead?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you need light? You want
Yeah,
me to
I do. Thank you.
put this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's it.
Plane to the distance of lesson 41.
Yeah. It all
There-
works.
There's something amiss.
It all works together. It's okay. It's okay.
No, there's more. There's more. We are in a very high plane when we touch upon pure spirit. And so quite apart from conferring a tremendous amount of energy to both body and mind, the action of pure spirit makes a person turn into truth. And that is an attribute that is to be found in all planes, but its connection is seen very strongly with the fourth plane because it is a plane of reckoning where one is facing oneself. One is facing the truth, what they call a judgment scene. Kudus High is a very powerful practice.
Oh, by golly, you're right.
Okay? Another practice is Yahad Yawajid, which are the two ends of the spectrum, of the spheres. Excuse me. So Yahad, if you remember, is the practice for the seventh plane.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Wajid would be for the first plane. Okay,
Actualization.
Existence.
Yeah.
Ahad is the vision of oneness. It is easy to see in an ant nest that the ants are not really individual beings, but they are all the cells of that one ant nest. But you can see it also amongst humans, and that is Wajid. One is seeing the multiplicity and unity. But then, Ahad is higher than that, of course. That is, there is absolutely no multiplicity remaining. But the counterpart is Yawajid, where you realize that this is all one. It is all the existence of God. That's exactly what it means. That this is the being of God. This is the existence of God. And therefore it is God who exists as me. I do not exist. It is not true that we exist. The only truth is that God exists. And that means that one experiences oneself as being the being of God. And I believe that that was the consciousness of Murshid. That is what Murshid calls God consciousness on earth. So it is the precise opposite of Samadhi, the opposite of Ahad. It is seeing the unity of existence, not the kind of crowning unity in the never, never up there, but it is right down here. This is where the unity is, despite all the differences. It's all God. And when one realizes that one is the being of God. And the consequence is that the divine qualities begin to come through. In fact, maybe one might say that this is the secret of unfoldment. It is to cease thinking of oneself as a personality, because there is limitation there, but keep on being aware of the fact that one is the divine being. And the more one is conscious of being the divine being, the more the divine qualities come through. Okay, so lead us in Yahad Yawajid, okay? Okay.
Okay, so as you're doing this practice, well,
Yeah, I just wanted to say something else. It's interesting. So you introduced the practice of doing nothing, of just letting the mind go, stop.
yes.
You know, so that kind of fits right into this whole thing of doing Yahad, Wajid, of the unity, of the
Yeah,
unity.
because there you are, you're aware of your existence, and like Tajli said, of your mind catching on to things, and you just let it go.
Yeah.
In that moment when you let it go, what happens? Clarity,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
And then something else pops in, and then your mind wants to attach on it, and then you let that go and say goodbye, and another moment of clarity, where it's just clear. Not clarity about anything, it's just clear, right? That's my experience anyway.
Yeah.
Is it W-A-J-I-D?
W-A-J-I-D.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Wajid.
Oh, excuse me.
Ahad. So it's Yahad. Wajid. Now, I want another definition that Pure Light has for Wajid is actualization or activation. Because there's several words for manifestation. So it's the actual making something happen in the world. Yahad, Yawajid, 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 Yahad, Yawajid. Yahad, Yawajid, 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 Yahad, Yawajid. Yahad, Yawajid, 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 Yahad, Yawajid. Yahad, Yawajid, Yahad, Yawajid, Yahad, Yawajid, Yahad, Yawajid. Now inhale Ahad, exhale Waj. Okay.
Did we go over the attributes of Wahad and Wajid? And how do you spell Had?
Ahad, A-H-A-D.
Oh, it's Ahad. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Ahadiyat is unity.
And Wajid is the
W-A-
actualization?
Yeah.
W-
Manifestation.
Existence.
Yeah, this is it.
And what was Ahad again?
Unity.
Unity.
Okay.
I thought it was a wonderful example of an ant nest.
Yeah. All that activity
Yeah.
from one being.
And like a bee's nest as
Yeah.
well.
And it wasn't it's sort of like the clan mentality, right? Man was of
Yeah.
that
identity, yeah.
of that, which I'm not. I don't know that that's still.
Well, we have a little
Really is.
plan right here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've gotten away from
Some people, you know, around the world there are such things.
a lot of people have family reunions, you know, so they have their,
Well, we're thinking just in terms of the West,
yeah.
you know. Around the world, the villages and whatnot are very important.
Yeah.
Well, even
Yeah,
your identity with your city or the place where you live, you know.
Your sports
you
team.
were born in a certain place and that's your,
That must be one reason people get so attached to sports teams.
yeah,
It's a sense of identity, I
Place.
suppose.
belonging, yeah.
Sense of place. Yeah. Okay, lesson 42, which is awakening to the divine intention. Abdul Jabul Nafari says that awakening to the divine intention is a revelation. There's no use trying to understand the intention. It is revealed to you when you have given up trying to understand. Okay. If it can't be the object of your subject, then you can entertain it by your will. There is no use trying to understand it, but it is revealed to you according to your readiness to understand it. Put that in the pipe and smoke it.
Right.
You'll understand it when you're ready to understand it, but there's understanding it is a waste of time. Apparently.
Is that what it says?
Something like that.
No.
More or
No.
less. Okay. I would say that somehow that readiness is linked up with one's dedication. My sister told me that it is a principle in the Secret Service that one is only allowed to know that which one needs to know, which is true with all intelligence services. Need to know principle. So if you are dedicated to a purpose, there are things that you need to know, and they are revealed to you. But you can't expect to know unless you need to know. Need to know is linked to your readiness to be of service. Now, can anyone see a how do I say, a caveat in there?
I don't remember what caveat. Is that a contradiction? Or
No.
Exception.
an exception?
Yeah, something to beware of. Beware. Be aware of this. Beware. Caveat emptor. Buyer beware. So what is it? What is it he's saying that that you might? It's a caution. Can't expect to know unless you need to know. What need to know is linked to your readiness to be of service. Now, say that someone hears that, reads it, and then decides, well, I'm ready to be of service, therefore what I know must be really cool. You see the problem?
Oh, thinking that because they're ready to serve, that they've already been revealed.
Yeah, exactly.
And so how is it that
My knowledge is superior.
how is it that you know that what's been revealed is actually closer to the truth? I guess it's by well, it's revealed rather than learned. It definitely usually feels more natural.
Can you trick yourself into thinking that it feels natural?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the deal. That's what you have to be aware of. Okay? The revelation comes when you loosen those ties to the need to know. That's what he said.
Or, yeah, the need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
then the need to know becomes a true thing rather than a I don't want to say desire, I guess desire on your part. Yeah, I guess that's a desire works. You know, something, some kind of expression of your own ego's assumption of purpose is a way to put it.
It occurs to me that it wouldn't matter. If it was, the more authentic it is, the less it would matter to me.
The less
My ego.
to your ego, yes, yeah. But you may not necessarily know that. I'm just giving you a caution about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's very important to remember that your being is also constantly challenged by the ego's assumption of intimate knowledge.
The ego's assumption of intimate knowledge.
Yeah. I mean, the human mind's quite capable of doing all kinds of things.
Yeah. I've had experienced a little, I don't know whether it's a little bit of that, but you know, in looking for places to work, you know, like in a day I'll stop at 5 different places, you know, just to say, you know, do you need work? Can I fill out an application? Or that kind of thing. And there's one place that is near me, and it's a salon, spa, and there was a possibility there, and I was wondering to myself, am I tricking myself about? Because I was sort of asking myself, where do I need to go to work? You know, can I be? I was asking for guidance to be shown where, you know, a good place to go to work. And then this came up, and then I was thinking, well, am I tricking myself? Because it's not a great place. I mean, it's a spa, a salon, and a spa. So for me, you know, it's not really my ideal of what a great place would be. But I was thinking, well, I'm going to go ahead and go through with it, and I was thinking, is my mind, you know, saying, oh, well, this is going to be a good place, and tricking me when it's really not a good place. But
well, you don't know. The thing is, you don't know.
Right.
It could be a great place, and you could be of service to a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
So.
So what happened?
No, they're going to call me this week, and you know, ask me to come in to do the trial.
Then you'll find out. Just use your intuition and see what it feels like.
Yeah. It's
I mean, ultimately, what you do, you're in a room. It's intimate. You're by yourself with your client.
Yeah.
Who cares what that's going on outside, as long as your client is accepting of your.
Yeah, that's sort of what it boils down to.
Yeah.
That you know, it is what it boils down to, and you know, along with that, all that comes, you know, the spa, healing center, you know, the categories of, you know,
What you assume to be the categories of holistic healing.
Right. Yeah.
And they're not necessarily true.
Yeah. So
healing can take place anywhere.
Right. That's what I'm, you know, been, you know.
Yeah, that's the struggle, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, I mean, because I, you know, I ask for guidance and you know, I try to get out there and.
They send you to a barber shop. Okay. Okay, here we go. The link is between dedication and power. The same thing is true about understanding as in power. Somehow, what the Sufis say is the word uns. that one is invited into the intimacy of the king.
Uns.
Uns.
How do you spell it?
U-N-S.
Uns. Oh.
What one means is that the people around the king are apprised of the policy of the strategy which is kept secret. So to be in the intimacy of the king means that you have access to the secrets of the divine intention. Okay, this is a kind of a deep point.
Symbolically speaking.
No, not symbolically. It's real. It's very real.
Okay.
There are things that we know that we don't tell you, and that's just a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the idea is that can't tell you. Not possible. Or we could tell you, and you wouldn't hear it. I've had that happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
So after a while, you begin to get the idea. This is only you. You get this when you get it. Okay? And that's just the way it is. And once you accept that, again, it's once you accept that, then the knowledge starts to come, interestingly enough.
Mm-hmm.
There are the popular stories that you find in Sufism that tell about that very inadequately. For example, Moses was learning from Khidr, and there were people being drowned, and he wanted to go and rescue them, and Khidr said no because they would have killed other people. I'm not very happy about that story. But what they are trying to say is that there is a method in God's madness, and we just have to know that it is difficult from our point of view to understand what the intention is. It seems absolutely contradictory or defeating. Some things happen that are so terribly unacceptable. How could God have wished that? I actually.
Allowed it.
Oh yeah, I was a long time. This is how I learned this lesson. Many years ago, 10 or 15 years ago, one of my Murids came to stay with me, and there were two of them. They were on their way to a march in New York City, protesting something or other. They wanted me to go, and I was trying to explain to them that not only did I not want to go, but I could see how what was taking place was important. Even though, and oh my gosh, you would think that I was advocating, I don't know, sex with dogs or something. It was just horrible. You just got screamed at, and I don't ever want you to be my guide again. Oh my God, you're just a terrible person. Oh yeah.
Because you wouldn't go.
Well, because I was trying to explain how I could see that it was important that this, whatever they were protesting, take place.
And so you're actually supporting them.
No, I wasn't supporting it or denying it.
Oh, they were protesting.
They were protesting.
Oh, and you thought that what
I was
saying they were protesting.
Well, yeah, and if they wanted to protest it, it was okay with me, but
Yeah.
I didn't feel that way.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that was also necessary, you see. Not only the activity that was taking place, but the protest, and so there's this struggle, this conversation that humanity has with itself constantly. Like we're having a big conversation right now about human rights. And the only way that conversation takes place is that for the division between the haves and the have-not to be so absurd that the conversation has to happen, right? But if it wasn't there, if everyone was equal, we wouldn't have this conversation. We'd just be sailing along feeling happy. You see what I'm saying? Now that's a secret. That's part of the secret. So, years later, this very same person sits down across from me at the abode, at the dining table, and looks at me in the eye and says, "You know what? You were the best guide I ever had." I didn't quite know what to say to that. But, so this person had realized. Okay? So in the moment, they didn't get it, but later on, it made sense. Or they understood. And that's how it works. Okay, am I making this example helpful?
Yeah.
So that when you find yourself in a state of disapproval, examine the your own structure and then look at whatever it is again. Because it's perfectly okay to disapprove. I'm not saying it's wrong, but be aware of what you're doing. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. I just had an example. I can't say what it is, but
Yeah. Popped into your head?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, awakening to divine intention is not necessarily what we would wish it to be. It's kind of important.
So I had a student this week. We were doing qigong and activating the energy in the palms and using it to heal ourselves, and then trading. And one of the young women said, "So how do I get my family to understand this?"
Okay.
Because I guess I said something like, you want to be careful who you tell this stuff. See, some of these people work in a professional environment, and I'm like, you're not going to go back to your office and just spill this, because it's going to shift the way people look at you. So she asked me that question, and I said, I would say to them, "Oh, are you in pain?" Sometimes if somebody puts their hands on that makes it feel better, like a mommy kissing a boo-boo. I said, that's all I would say.
Yeah.
And she was so disappointed. But it spurred a conversation about, it's not our place to force people to wake up.
Right.
It's also the messianic complex.
Yeah.
The person that quits smoking wants everybody else to quit smoking, that kind of thing. Very, she just learned something new and exciting and interesting and different, and she wants to tell everybody. We've all experienced that.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully you get over it. Right? Okay, perhaps the problem is that in our limited minds we think of God as other than ourselves. If you understand that it is a composite will, this next paragraph is pretty important actually. We are all part of that will, then it is a very composite intention too. So it is our simplistic minds that try to think that God up there is a separate person who is manipulating our lives and doing things that don't make sense.
Feels like that sometimes.
Right?
Like a puppet. A puppet master.
Yeah, right? The clue is freedom. That what is gained is freedom. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any point. If you were invited to create a universe and you made it so that things would happen according to your will, then no accidents could happen. Everything would be foreseen. There would be no evolution. There would be nothing gained by it. It was all in your mind. What was the point? But if you create a universe in which a way that you delegate freedom to the building blocks of that universe, then something is gained. That's freedom. That's the ultimate magnanimity. Isn't that a wonderful word, magnanimity?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pure Reliant's name is stamped all over it.
I know I've told you guys this before, but the one time that I gave a lecture to the Edgar Casey group in New York, and I happened to say that God doesn't know how it's going to turn out, and oh my goodness, it was such a hue and cry, because these are people that believe in predestination. Everything is mapped out.
Oh, is it? They
Or a lot
still
of them
do.
do.
They still do.
It's comfortable.
Well,
You know.
I don't think Casey said that.
He didn't, but that's what that's how things evolve. I don't recall. I mean, I read several of his things. I don't recall anything like you said.
Yeah.
It's all predestined. Not at all.
No.
Do you all get a bowl of sake?
Yeah.
Sure.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, because I've just started getting it, I guess, in the last 6 months or something. But there's a Edgar Casey sort of daily script that comes out.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it's I've read one last night because a friend of mine gets it, and it was interesting. But a lot of a lot of thou and
Well, that would have been, his King James Bible version of reality.
yeah. I was
Yeah.
going to say it's very very Bible-like.
Yeah. He did make no bones about the fact that he was, a believer, so to speak.
Of the Bible.
Yeah, his first revelation was when he was a photographer. That's what he was, a regular commercial photographer, taking pictures of babies and weddings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he was tired one afternoon, and he laid his head down on the table, and he happened to have he laid his head down on his Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And when he woke up, he realized he knew the whole thing
Wow.
by heart. He
I
just
didn't
knew it.
know that.
Suddenly he could just chapter and verse, and it's not something that he knew. Suddenly he knew it.
Oh,
So
no.
that was the beginning of his
Wow.
awareness that there was something going on.
Yeah.
That he was tapped into something extra.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, you should read his biography. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. You hand what's the name of it? Gosh, I can't think of it. I used to have a copy, but I think I gave it to somebody.
What?
Edgar Casey's the biography
Biography.
by that
Prophet
In his own
Muhammad.
country.
something like that. Yeah,
Prophet in his own time?
in his
No,
own
I was
country.
thinking about country.
Country.
The prophet isn't recognized
Mhm.
in his own country.
Okay, you hand over the most precious thing that you have, which is your free will, to other people. This is when you create the universe with the sense of magnanimity. That's true of any institution. Instead of being a dictator who governs it, you give a certain amount of freedom to people who are within it so that they will develop their own potentiality. Which is what Pir Vilayat did with the Sufi order. Okay? If we try to assess our lives from the other end, from our personal vantage point, there is no way that we can understand it. We must be very clear. Okay? We try to assess our lives from the other end, from our personal vantage point, there's no way we can understand it. So what does that mean when you're assessing your life? You have to be from a very high vantage point, right? Can't be personal.
So,
Because then if you assess it from a personal vantage point, you're always going to assess it from your attitudes, right? I'm a good boy, I'm a bad girl, I do this, I do that.
That was done to me. This was done to me.
Yeah.
self-judgments.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You want to be from a very, very high point of view.
And so would Yahad
No, I wouldn't do that practice for that kind of thing. There'd be other practices I can think of will get you that place. Ahad is not for that, not for assessment. So I would say, first of all, that in awakening to the divine intention, you give up your assessment. That is still negative. Secondly, perhaps the clue is in that middle mind, which is in the creative imagination. If you were to make a statue, for example, you would find that in the course of making the statue, you saw things, discovered aspects of the statue that you didn't see or couldn't have prefigured before making the statue. In other words, it's discovery by doing. You know that famous statement of Michelangelo's? What is it that I don't impose my will on
the piece of stone.
I allow the stone to tell me what it is,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
So being creative in your life is a way of making your awakening to reality, making your awakening a reality instead of sitting back and trying to assess your problems. So being creative in your life is a way of making your awakening a reality instead of sitting back and trying to assess your problems.
Oh.
Whack, whack, whack.
Well, that's an interesting statement because we just come through an age that emphasized psychology and wherein you had to go and assess your problems, look at your history, assess your problems. And that was the the message of the time, the age.
Still is.
Yeah, well, it's shifting. So I believe it's shifting. So what he's saying is that the creativity will give you an entirely different perspective or experience.
Yeah.
Through creativity, rather than
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that I tell
backward-looking,
clients and myriads is that, people tell me their stories and how awful they've been treated, or the very difficulties of their life, or abuse they have accumulated, and things like that. And that's all, that's important information. And then what I tell them is, okay, that's your texture. What will you do with it? You can view it as something extremely negative and difficult to deal with, or you can just view it as your equipment, your
Raw material. Raw material.
Your raw material. Thank you. Yes. Right. Yeah. If you look at it that way, that changes.
Yeah, like a composer, songwriter, whatever, would have to take from their sorrow or whatever of joy and from their experience of their life, but then create a song about it, and the song shifts it. The song expresses something wonderful, which in a sense releases.
Yeah.
Which what?
Gives a sense of releases the
From
binds
the person.
of the
Composer.
for the composer.
Another way to think about it is is when I make something.
Yeah.
When I make something, it's really an act of violence. I'm cutting, I'm hitting, I'm breaking, I'm slicing, with hot machinery and sharp tools, and then something beautiful emerges. How about that? Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
It's true of a sculptor. Not so much true of a painter, I guess.
No, whatever.
Then it's an emotional response,
Yeah.
I would suppose.
Sure.
How do you experience? I mean, you have just art that you do because someone asked you. No, not anymore.
Very little art that I ever did was through
Because someone asked you?
request.
Commissions.
Very little.
So it was all from inside somewhere? Okay, so being creative in your life is a way of you're awakening a reality instead of sitting back and trying to assess your problems. In other words, instead of being at the passive end of impact of your existence, you are at the active end making things happen. Mm-hmm. Using your structure, your experiences as raw material rather than as a way to enhance your self-pity. So this would be awakening in action. We can understand that samadhi would be awakening away from the existential realm, where you will know more and more about less and less. Awakening in life would be knowing less and less about more and more. Okay. Let's follow this up with some of the practices. Sit up straight.
Are these CFL?
No. Normal, regular, plain old tungsten bulbs.
You want to turn it down?
You
Are
can
they
turn it down.
tungsten?
Yeah.
Is this
Press the button.
The CFL bulbs don't work in these kind of lights. I've tried them. They won't turn on.
Oh.
That's just
Press and hold.
press and hold.
I had.
Just hold it.
Well, that's
It
the point
takes a
where it
second.
goes out.
It takes a minute. Takes a second. Just hold.
Good.
There.
you go.
Good.
Thank you.
Now sit up straight. Remember what I said. If you are very peaceful, be clear about the fact that at some time, and it's a definite time, you were conceived. Prior to that, you were not the same as after you were conceived. So let's say that something has accrued to you of that moment in addition to what you were prior to that. So there's a very clear distinction to that aspect of yourself that we can call the existential aspect that you inherited from your parents and from the whole universe. And then that aspect of yourself that was prior to that, let's say non-existential or eternal. So just settle into that for a moment. See in yourself, the existential self, all your stuff. And then that aspect of you that is eternal. So, the great clue in meditation and to awaken a sense of samadhi is to totally question that your existential being is the way you think it is. In practice, what the Tibetans do is something similar to what one would do if one were to awaken while sleeping and dreaming. That is, remember your existential being, body, mind, personality, and remember the circumstances the way you thought you were, but you realize that it wasn't the way you thought it was. So you have awakened to what seems like a dream. Now the experience seems like a dream to you. Remember how it seemed, but you think, I was caught in a hoax. Then you make the second phase, which is awakening from sleep with dreams into sleep without dreams. That is deep sleep, when you remember not only your assessment of your problems, but you remember your creative thoughts, like the way you would like to live and the way you would like to be. If you are a musician or a composer, you remember how your compositions were expressing an aspect of yourself, and somehow you realize that your imagination was just projecting into a form, understanding that cannot be limited by form. So awaken from the dream world into deep sleep. What the Tibetans are saying is that while you awaken from one stage to the next, in order to be able to move to the next stage, you need to keep in your mind the void. It's not an altogether void, because the space is filled with neutrons. There's some kind of voidness that is difficult to explain. Your creative ideas are merely projections, much the way your dreams form. It's a form that parlays something that is beyond form, so it's a secondary reality. The essence is what is behind perfection.
Behind the form.
Perfection. So you Visualize your assumptions and then recognize that they are not who you are. Now, if you follow this up, there's a further point. This is a very difficult point to reach, and that is that when you forget that it's a void, you go through a dark night, and then you awaken beyond the dark night. That transit is what most people are afraid of. In the first stages, one still remembers the physical world. One questions one's assessment. One remembers one's metaphors. One questions their validity. But one still remembers them. But at this next stage, forget them. So you are not conscious of the environment at all, not conscious of your thoughts, not conscious of yourself. That's the dark night. That's the transit. If you make it through that transit, then you impinge on a state of awakening. But it's just very difficult to pass that stage because you have an instinct of self-preservation, and the experience defies our sense of self-preservation. So just think that you are in deep sleep, so that even your dreams, the physical world and your dreams appear now as dreams, fantasy, or whatever, Maya. So here's some clues as to how to work on your meditation. I wonder whether it has ever happened that you found yourself walking the streets and asking yourself, what on earth am I doing here? What is all this? Is it real? Am I real? Is this body me? When you reach that point, you think you are going crazy. You think you must try to avoid that. But that's exactly what you have to do. The strong moment is when you think, I've been caught in a hoax all this time. All of a sudden I have awakened. I see that everybody has been caught in that hoax as if everyone were dreaming and I'm awake. That used to happen to me when I was making my retreat in that cave in Jerusalem. At night they would kick me out. I wasn't allowed to stay at night. I would walk on the streets thinking, what are all these people doing, walking on the streets here and there like flies in a bottle? They have no idea what's happening. They are just caught in their trips. That's how you feel. I used to be like that too. And now I'm awake.
You wonder where you went to sleep if you couldn't stay in the cave.
Yeah.
So now that as Pure Light was saying, now that he's awake, he no longer sees people running around like ants or flies in a bottle.
No, you still see it. But you just accept it as being the way it is. Remember one of the major, it used to be on every piece of correspondence the Sufi order sent out years ago, was this phrase. And the phrase was, the message is a clarion for those meant to awaken and a lullaby for those meant to remain asleep. You probably saw it.
Yeah.
You know? They don't do it anymore, but they used to.
Uh-huh.
And that's the truth of it all. When you awaken, when you feel that sudden transference from the ego into whatever it is that happens, you know, you go through that moment of deep fear, of leaving yourself behind. Push through. The awareness of the existence of other people. It's not a state of pity. It's more, initially it's a state of, wow, why don't you get it? And then after a while, it's just an acceptance and an embracing of others without any kind of judgment.
Well, that last part was, I almost wasn't able to touch it.
Now you know what to work on, right?
I don't know that I could recreate it.
You can, get the recording, listen to it again.
Okay.
Sure.
Would anyone else like to share?
Yeah, I had difficulty with it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I must admit. But that's all right. It's like I figured I'll get it when I get it. As the saying goes, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like you get it when you get it.
Sarah, did you?
Which part?
Any of them. In
The last
beginning
bit where you're going through the dark night.
Well, yeah,
I was contemplating things that I've experienced and wondering if they were it.
Okay. And I will tell you that when it happens, you know. There's no question about it. Because it is terrifying.
I can relate it to certain things in a way, like when even the meditation we did of allowing the mind to go blank, right? It's like you give up at that point. You give up your assessment, and you also give up your personality. Your personality is not there. So It's like, in a sense, it's a mini experience of the dark night. And I really mean many. So I'm just trying to relate it to other experiences that we have on a maybe a smaller basis, like So but even in just sitting down to meditate, it's like you may do wazifa, or you may do whatever, and and your mind, in a sense, goes blank. You're not thinking of anything, and out pops a color. It's like you something is being revealed to you that you haven't created. There's a revelation in that color, and the color also affects your whole being. So it's in a sense that's a breakthrough into something else, a realization. All right. So it's like there's this just gradual shift into it, but I don't think that I've experienced this on a major scale. Okay, let me put it that way.
Okay. Like I say, you know it. There's no question. And I will say that the very first time that it happened to me, I wasn't expecting it. It was absolutely terrifying. And then I just pushed through. Well, no, I can't say just. I pushed through. And I was just in a state. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then
when
I came back out of it, my very first thought was, Why did this take me so long to get? It's so natural.
Yeah.
That's the interesting thing.
I don't think in my experiences, I don't experience this terror that
No.
we're talking about, so I can't really particularly relate to that.
You go to a completely different place.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe. But Kimberlite was talking also about the Dark Night of the Soul and St. John of the Cross, and he was a bad boy, and he saying what he was saying in the monastery, and they would lock him in. They locked him in a closet. It was his punishment. So it was like, in a sense, that was his dark night of the soul that he had to get through. It was like not having no escape there, and finally someone took pity on him and brought him, opened the door and gave him a rope ladder, right?
Right.
A rope ladder, and he made his escape. He climbed down the rope ladder, right, and went to
St. Teresa.
Saint Clare.
No, St. Teresa d'Avila.
D'Avila.
Mhm.
Teresa d'Avila.
Who became his teacher.
So yeah, so he had that breakthrough there, But it's like, it's just, well.
It's a fun story to read, actually.
Yeah.
Dark Night of the Soul by. You guys haven't read this? You read it, right?
Yeah, I haven't.
You have read it too?
No.
Oh, you
No,
should.
I haven't.
It's good. Okay.
It's called The Dark Night of the Soul?
Dark Night of the Soul by John of the Cross, yeah.
Oh, by John of the Cross.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's your translations, but you could probably get a copy on ABE for $1. It's been published for who knows how long. Okay, that's how Hazrat Inayat Khan describes awakening. Actually, the real hoax is that, Hazrat Inayat Khan doesn't use the word hoax, but he does use the whole thing that he was saying. The real hoax is that one is caught in one's mind. For example, a man thinks he's a king because people say, Your Majesty, and he's sitting on a throne, so he thinks he's a king. Then suddenly he's thrown off his throne and he wonders if he's a king or an ex-king or what he is. He's only an ordinary human being. Or an old man thinks he's old because he's got white hair, and some people think he's old. It's in the mind. You think you're old. For example, a young man thinks he's poor, but doesn't know that his father has put a fortune in the bank for him. It's all in the mind. It's like one of the things that we remark between the two of us is when we see people who are younger than us but look older. They'll come in here and they'll look like they're ancient, and they'll sit down at the chair and they'll fill out their application for whatever it is that they want to quit, and we'll realize they're 45 or they're 50. And you don't say anything, but you can see that they've decided
That they're old.
they're old. Yeah. Okay, in psychotherapy, you will find that people are caught in their assumptions. Now, I would say that the positive way then of countering the negative aspect would be to say, I am pure, luminous intelligence. Intelligence becomes consciousness when interfaced with the existential underpinning of my being, and then I forget that I was intelligence. That's what I remember. So, you can do a practice like Ya Nur Ya Alim. Right? Luminous intelligence. And Nur Ya Alim. And keep thinking of the light that is the truth of your being and the intelligence that rests within you. And just work on that, for instance. And that is the moment of breakthrough, which the Tibetans call the clear light of bliss. That's what I am, luminous intelligence. Everything else is something that has been added. It's scaffolding, underpinning, support system, body, mind, personality, all of that. That's not what I am. I am pure intelligence. So, for example, you walk on the streets of New York and you say, so you think you are walking in the streets of New York, but nonsense, you are pure intelligence. Or somehow you are flapping that body in the streets of New York, but that's not who you are. You are pure intelligence. That's being awake. So you see there's a shift in one's sense of identity. Now, how do you do that?
Just as you said,
You just
being
keep doing
aware
it.
that you are
Yeah.
pure luminous intelligence.
Plotinus gives us a clue.
What does he say?
He says to follow virtue, to live in virtue.
Virtue.
Yeah.
Virtue.
Now, to be virtuous can mean many things, but to be truly virtuous is to be continually assessing one's behavior, one's thoughts, one's assumptions. That's virtue.
And holding the candle of truth to it, or holding the
Yeah,
candle
just
of...
being careful about that, because then again it's an assessment.
Right, yeah.
You have to be careful
What's
about
truth?
that. Yeah. So continually noticing what you're doing and how you're doing it. And just being honest without self-pity and without, self-justification. Just noticing. Okay?
Living with virtue.
Plotinus.
Yeah.
That's his main practice. And then, when one isn't afraid of death anymore, you can glean my body all you like, it doesn't take away from my intelligence. The body is something that's been added to me. No one can take it away, but that doesn't, so one can take it away, but that doesn't change me because I am pure intelligence. If you look at it that way, that's what is called liberation. It's freedom. Not just from your assessment of your problems, it's freedom from your identity. And that's the catch-22, our sense of identity. So you see, you are dealing with very ultimate things. I've often wondered if Pierre Vlad ever actually saw the movie Catch-22. Maybe. Or I guess it's just part of the lexicon. Now, when you awaken, the energy that comes through is an enormous. I can't.
I need to up the light.
Yes, please. You have to turn it off and turn it on again. Now, when you awaken, the energy that comes through is so enormous that then you can heal. So why try anything halfway? Go for the big thing while you still have a chance. Life is short. Believe me, when you reach my age, you realize that it is really short. Every minute constitutes a choice. Why waste time playing bridge? That's my personal feeling. Use your time well to discover your part in the divine intention. Okie dokie.
Very well done.
Okay,
Oh boy.
that's a lot, huh?
Yeah, a whole lot. It's like 5 full meals or something.
Next weekend we will finish this up. Or next time we meet.
Assessing what you're doing without judgment.
Yes, no, observing.
Observing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Continually observing. Noticing.
Isn't that called shahad?
Muhasaba.
Shahad is sort of also shahad.
Yeah, it's an aspect of shahad.
It's a witness.
Yeah.
Shahad is the witness. So you're correct.
The actual action is called muhasaba.
observing what you are doing without judgment or
assessment, opinion, attitude, self-pity,
okay.
self-aggrandizement, righteousness, all that stuff. Be as neutral as possible.
So how do you decide if it's what you should be doing?
I guess if it feels good. From the point of view of virtue. Yeah, if you're happy. On the other hand, there are moments when happiness is not the point. That something needs to be done, so you have to do it.
Right, yeah.
That could be.
Lots of stuff.
Yeah. Washing the dishes.
Yeah, sometimes washing the dishes can be a pleasant task.
Really?
Yeah, when I'm at other people's houses, it's much more pleasant than when I'm at my own house.
Is that what happens?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sometimes, very, very inoccasionally, but I can feel good about doing dishes at my house, but usually it's...
Can we do a little zikr?
I think we should do a little zikr.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay. So you can turn that light off. Just push the button and let it just. There you go.
Excuse me.
So as we're doing this, just think of your life in terms of this statement that you're making that Pir Liat said, that you are pure intelligence, that you are not your body or your experiences or your attitudes or any of those things, other people's assessment of you. You are pure intelligence. And all of that stuff can be taken away, and you're still you. La ilaha illallah. Okay, let's do evening prayer. O thou who art the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, Lord of heaven and earth, open our hearts that we may hear thy voice, which constantly cometh from within. Disclose to us thy divine light, which is hidden in our souls, that we may know and understand life better. Most merciful and compassionate God, give us thy great goodness, teach us thy loving forgiveness, raise us above the distinctions and differences which divide us, send us the peace of thy divine Spirit, and unite us all in thy perfect being. Disclose to us thy divine light, 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 disclose to us thy divine light. Warner of coming dangers, awakener of the world from sleep, deliverer of the message of God, thou art our Savior, the sun at the dawn of creation, the light of the whole universe, the fulfillment of God's purpose. Thou, the life eternal, we seek refuge in thy loving enfoldment. Spirit of guidance, source of all beauty, and creator of harmony, love, lover, and beloved Lord, thou art our divine ideal. Okay. Assalamu alaikum.